What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Lucas Live. I'm your host, Lucas Tyndale. I am excited to be back with you guys again. Thank you guys who are following us on your favorite podcast platforms, as well as watching the video podcast on YouTube. We appreciate all of you. We are excited to be kicking off season 4. We've had a few other guests, and today I have someone who's very special, very important person, someone who I must admit, I find her a bit mysterious at times. I've told her that. I think she's extremely smart, extremely funny. She's dichotomous, in my opinion, because she's all those things. She's extremely funny, out there funny, and then she's very focused, business focused, mother, parent. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody like her. So I'm a fan of hers. I follow her on social media. I follow her in life. We know each other. She is the former director of public relations and community initiatives for the Stark County prosecutor Kyle Stone here in Stark County, Ohio. She is currently the communications director for the city of Canton, working in the mayor's office. And it's a really exciting new opportunity for her we're going to talk about. And we're going to talk about some other things that she's passionate about. Her name is Christian Turner, and I am excited to have her. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. That was quite the introduction. I appreciate that.
Yes.
So thank you, and good afternoon, good morning to everyone out there. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So I didn't tell you I was going to say that you were mysterious, but I've told you that, right?
You have. Yes, you have.
In all the best ways. I think you are. I think to have I almost said I think to have multiple personalities is a good thing.
Well, it depends on who you ask.
It depends on who you're right. Okay, right. It depends on what my therapist said was I need to work on some of them.
At my last appointment.
Right. At my last appointment, they said you probably shouldn't have this many personalities. So when I say that, I think you seem so thoughtful about things that you're passionate about. We're going to talk about some of those today.
Absolutely.
You care about them. You're serious about them. You make very serious statements like we should think about this, that, or the other.
Absolutely.
Or when you're for people, you support them, and you are in a current role where you're supporting our city and the mayor and other things, which I think is phenomenal. And you were with former prosecuting attorney Kyle Stone, which was phenomenal. And you...
Well, not former. He's still the man. I just used to work for him.
I like that. Good point. Good call. Correct that. Look at that. When you in communications, you got to correct some stuff. But you are just funny, interesting, former military. Like I just am always amazed by you. So let me say that in all the best ways.
Thank you.
I think you're absolutely fascinating. And you have the most beautiful, fascinating daughter as well.
Oh, I love some Briseis.
Let's shout her out too.
Shout out to Briseis Francesca, my baby.
She is in the building right now. She is in studio. She is just having a good time, I think, over there with her Barbie shirt on, just ready to roll.
Listen, we watch Barbie almost every day.
What is it, like Barbie in the Dream House, or what is it?
No, the Barbie movie. But she does have a dream house. And if people who follow me on social media, they know the story behind the dream house. Shout out to Mimi, because she bought her one for Christmas because they knew I was not spending my money on that. But for those who follow the Briseis Chronicles,
yes.
Bree says some things, but she did get a dream house for those who have been wondering.
Some of the funniest posts are you talking about her and you two interacting as though she's 14 or something.
She might as well be.
And how old is she?
She'll be 4 in June.
She will be 4.
She will be 4. We're going to Chicago for her birthday to take her to the American Girl store.
I love that. I was just in Chicago last week. I love that. So yes, I think she hears us talking about her, so she's perking up. She may try to come on the show. So let's get into a couple things.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your previous role as the Director of Public Relations and Community Initiatives for Stark County prosecutor Kyle Stone, who is not only an upstanding man, a prosecutor, he's a great friend, he's a great person. Talk to me about what it was like working with Kyle Stone.
Working with Kyle was great. I came on board with Kyle. I just, he told me he wanted to be prosecutor, and I said, how can I help? Wow. So I did the communications for his campaign, and he campaigned at a really interesting time because boom, COVID happened. So we didn't get to campaign how people normally would.
Right.
We did things very differently, and he came out victorious, and It was just an amazing time. He is the first Black man to be a prosecutor in the state of Ohio. He's currently
in the state
only
of Ohio. I got to get my sounds together because I
Yeah.
need to be clapping for that or something. We're gonna get it together.
He's currently the only Black man to be a prosecutor in the 88 counties of Ohio. But just aside from that, he is really just trying to do prosecution different. And we really, election season is coming up. So in November, I really want people to just really go out there and support him at the polls. He's doing a lot to support victims. There's plans to bring a family justice center to Stark County. I'll let him be the one to be able to roll out that information.
No, breaking
to
news
people.
right now. Okay, never mind. Okay, never mind.
Roll out that information and just he approaches prosecution differently, and I really want people to be able to just really support him and continue to give him the support that he deserves. And I look forward to seeing what he does for Stark County here in the future.
He is a relatively young man considering the role that he is in, and he one thing, there were several of us who he was our attorney. And then he became our prosecutor. We was like, so what, you ain't attorney in no more? You can't help us with our stuff. But there were some things in my life where he helped me out. So I caught a couple cases. And no, I didn't catch no cases. But, just some things that I had to deal with, family, children, things that were going on in my life. And the way he handled it was just, I can't even say enough how caring he was. He was not, let's just get through whatever it is, do A, B, and C, and send me and send an invoice and send me a check. It wasn't like that. It was, I care. Let me come talk to you. Came to my home. There was something that had gone on with one of my children as a teenager, and it was wrong. I mean, it was wrong. It was something that had gone on with a school system, and I wanted to make sure that my child was being treated fairly. And the way he advocated was just absolutely, he did such a phenomenal job, actually, that when my daughter showed up to have the meeting with the school district and us as a family to talk about this wrongful suspension is really what it was, and he had her so prepared that she spoke like an attorney. I mean, we were sitting there like, wow, like, and when we were done, yeah, the school district was like offering us a building. No, I'm just kidding. They were like, they were like, we've messed up. This is all wrong. What else can we do to fix it? And all because of his great work. So shout out to prosecuting attorney Kyle Stone. When you think about this upcoming election season, what do you want people to know about how important it is to get out there and vote for him?
I just think that, he runs on 3 pillars: unity, transparency, and justice. Those are the things that he ran on before. None of those things have changed while he's been in office. And there is no switch up. And that's it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Shout out to Kyle Stone, your role there. So let's talk about how your role, what did it do for you as far as teaching you and preparing you for what was next? Now, maybe you didn't know what was next, but what are some of the skills that you had to bring to the table and or skills that you developed while working in the prosecutor's office?
I think even aside from, what you learn in college and what you learn, technical things, I think really is relationships are everything.
I love that.
I think, when I interviewed for this new role, I think one of the main things was I was going to bring the relationships that I had already built over the last 3 years with me.
Yes.
I didn't need to go out and now, of course, there's always going to be people that I don't know.
Right.
But it was, well, let me call who I already know so we can already build on what we've already prepared.
Right.
And I think that was one of the big things. And I think as young people, I get asked a lot of questions from some younger people. I always say, when you're about to graduate out of being a young professional, when you start using the word young people.
That's the first sign. Like,
I'm like, we got to give these young people a chance.
Opportunity.
I'm like, well, am I not the young?
I thought I was a young
Am I
people.
not the young?
I thought I was a
Am I
young
not the young
person. What happened? Right. When did this
But
change?
no, I try to tell them that relationships are everything.
Yes.
And not burning bridges.
Yes.
And even if you don't care for someone anymore, if you didn't get the opportunity that you deserved, you have to be amicable about the way you walk away. You have to be respectful about the way you end things. But relationships are everything. So I think that's the big thing. But just being professional about the way you go about things, even if things aren't exactly the way that you want them to be. And just being willing to evolve, being willing to learn, because you don't know everything, even though if
Okay.
we feel like we do.
We sure do.
Even if we feel like I'm right, or I know better than other people.
Mhm.
You just have to be very respectful and very mindful of that. So I think
Good.
above everything, your relationships are everything.
I am a huge fan of that concept. It's one of my just founding ideas in my life is how important relationships are, and that they're I'm actually I'm working on a book now, and the book I was going to write and I am going to write one day was going to be about building, maintaining, and never burning bridges. That you have to build bridges before you need them. Don't wait until you need the relationship to get to know someone, to support them, to like their posts, support their stuff, buy their stuff, do something. Don't just assume one day I'm going to run into them and I'm going to say, I've been following you, and they never could tell, or I'm a big whatever fan of your whatever it is, and I'd like to, and I have an ask of you. And they're like, you didn't do anything to support me. That like even on social media could have boosted my post a little further, or you reaching out to me and thanking me. Your vote mattered, whatever it was, right? So I think building bridges is important. We go to networking opportunity, we go to networking events and all these things, and a lot of people just aren't comfortable building bridges. I think it's so important. And then maintaining bridges. Maintaining bridges is you and I as friends, we have these touch points, these small touch points. It may be something interesting or funny on social media. It may be something going on in the community. It may be when we see each other, we always make sure we speak. That's the maintaining of the
Little
bridge.
alley.
That we throw alley oops to each other,
Or just a
or
connection. Hey, or hey, this is somebody I know. This is
yes,
somebody I want you to know. Let's
yes.
set up a meeting later.
I can see how yes, you're saying you can see how this may be fruitful for all parties in the future. May not, and it may not be that it's so beneficial to you, but you're like, I can see how this could work for others, or maybe there is a benefit. But I love that you actually did that recently. I love that. And then never burning bridges. It's easy to get mad in a moment or have a feeling about someone or something, and then do something rash and burn the bridge. I think what people should do instead is build a drawbridge. Sometimes you need to pull the bridge up because there's things that aren't good coming into your life or into your kingdom, so to speak. So you that moat was built to keep things out and know when your enemies were coming across. So raise the bridge, take some time from whatever that is that you don't need in your life in the moment, but that doesn't mean you'll never need that person ever again. So having a mindset for that, I think, is phenomenal. I love that you said that. So now your current role, and there was a bridge to this current role, or at least there was a recommendation to check out an opportunity that was coming. We recently have elected a new mayor here in the city of Canton, and with a new mayor comes some change and some new opportunities and some new positions. So, talk to me about how you got into your current role as the community communications director for the city of Canton.
Um, I saw the opportunity online.
Uh-huh.
I decided to apply. My former boss actually saw actually saw it online as
Mm-hmm.
well. We have a relationship to where, you know, although he was my boss, he was also my friend.
Yes.
And we believe in elevating amongst our
Mm.
friend group. And, he was very supportive of me moving into another role
Mhm.
that would, help me support my family.
Yeah.
I am a solo parent.
Uh-huh.
And, we're very big on whatever helps us grow.
Yeah.
And he was very supportive in that. And, it was hard for me to leave my job because I loved my job.
Wow.
And it's easy to leave a job when you hate it.
Man.
It's, I can't stand these bleep bleep bleep. They getting on my nerves. I'm ready to get up out
I've
of
been
there.
ready to go.
But I enjoyed my coworkers. We had a great
Yes.
relationship. I enjoyed my boss. I enjoyed, and it was hard to leave. But
Mm-hmm.
when opportunity knocks,
Yeah.
you have to take it. And
Absolutely.
I'm enjoying my new workplace. It's not the same as my old workplace,
Okay.
and I miss my coworkers. But you have to be willing. You have to be willing to step when the stairs appear.
Mm.
And
Say that again.
you
Wow.
know, and
Okay.
and it's hard,
Yes.
because I was comfortable.
Yeah.
I was comfortable. I like, I had a routine going. I had a
Yeah.
really good team.
Right.
But y- it was very nice to know that I had leadership that supported my growth.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't, even if it benefits you to keep people under you, you have to
Mm.
be willing to allow people to grow, even if it creates a hole in what you're doing. So I appreciated the fact that who I was working for was really
Whew.
willing to see me grow.
That is a phenomenal statement, and the man she's talking about is the one and only Kyle Stone, our Stark County prosecutor, and he is up for reelection this year. So Stark County, and when you hear the integrity and the personhood, who he really is, and you've heard our stories, we really would suggest you consider voting for him if you need more information. Look, there's more information available and more information coming, but to know that we have someone in such an important position who cares the way he does, to say to a staff member who's also a friend, hey, there's another opportunity out there. Did you see that that opportunity is there? Is not something that people tend to do, because they're thinking, while that may be better for you, that's terrible for me. Nobody wants to lose a Christian. Like, you're organized, you're thoughtful, you're good, you're strong in the things that you do. So I'm sure he's like, there are no other Christians, while there's other Christians in the world. I mean, like Christian faith people. There's not another you. There just isn't another you. You're a very unique person. And therefore he will find somebody, or maybe have somebody who will take the role and do a wonderful job. But for a leader to do that says a lot. And to all the leaders out there who are thinking about what you can do for your team, sometimes one of the things you can do for them is show them how much you care about their career development. That it's not a linear thing. As long as you're growing with me, or as long as you're under me and pushing me up, you're good. But if you go outside of here, which happens in so many institutions, I think this a lot about, this happens in churches all the time. Like, the young minister will leave and they will act like they didn't even know him. Like, he went to start a new church and or something, and I think that everybody would be like, great, let's support it and let's build that up, because he can help that part of the community, or he can reach the people he was meant to reach. And people don't tend to do that. In churches that happens in business. When you leave, it's like, yeah, you used to work here, and that's that. But to have someone like him who's so thoughtful, I think it's phenomenal. So one of the things that you care about, I want to talk about your something you're passionate about, and it's something you and I have talked about a little bit, because I'm a parent, you're a parent, and we're all dealing with this wild, wild west called the internet.
It's called the internet.
It's quite a thing, isn't
It's
it?
quite a thing. So one of the things that my team and I really worked on while I worked for Kyle was we really built up our internet safety program. And shout out to Jim Knight. He is the internet safety. I mean, he's the crime prevention specialist
Yeah,
at the prosecutor's office, and um, he was already doing this, but I think we really took it to a new level.
yeah,
So I would help him kind of tag along, or I would take the lead on certain presentations,
yeah.
and we really helped to build this up. So it's something that I do with Aspire Today for athletes. So shout out to
Yes.
Lisa Lucas.
Shout out to my cousin Lisa Lucas. Oh, them Lucases
Sh-
is something. Lisa.
so shout out to
Uh-huh.
Lisa, who has given me a platform to help teach this to student athletes around the
Yes.
county. I do this with parents. We do this with seniors,
Hmm.
and just kind of spread the word about internet safety throughout the county. So it's something that I really, really care about, and I care a lot about just keeping our kids safe on the internet, because I don't think it's something that parents really talk about all the time with their kids.
I wholeheartedly agree. And as you were saying that, it reminded me, one, as a parent, I remember the day when all my children, most of whom are adults now, all had their own device and everybody was quiet. I thought the Lord had come down himself to bless us with something. It was like Nintendo DS or something. And everybody had one and everybody was chilling and nobody was fighting over the TV. I was like, I've never seen this in my whole life, because as children, we certainly fought over the TV because we didn't have that many
Yeah,
TVs in the house. Then we had multiple TVs, but they wanted the main TV, and there was always an argument about what are we going to
yeah,
watch.
yeah.
Then all of a sudden, everybody was quietly doing their own thing. I was like, wow. Then it evolved to phones and evolved to the next thing and the next thing. And it was, now you don't just have the games I can afford to buy you on your DS, or they had a PSP, the little PlayStation things, if y'all remember that. My son, shout out to young Luke, to this day still says, Dad, the best gift you ever got me was that PSP, that handheld PlayStation. He said that was something else.
Yeah.
But now with the internet, once that came about, it was like, well, you have unlimited games and unlimited access, and you can watch whatever you want. And we don't have to pay for half this stuff. And this is amazing.
Mhm.
And off we went, handing our children devices and hoping it was safe out there. I mean, we assume, the government or somebody out there is regulating this. I'm sure they're not letting kids see any and everything. I assume that's what we assumed.
Oh, Yeah.
And some still do, maybe.
Yeah, no.
Talk to us a little bit.
Yeah, no. So you really have to, before we even think about the internet, we have to think about like what are the numbers.
Okay.
So how many people you think are there in the world?
I guess like 7 billion.
So there's actually about 8 billion people in the world.
Okay.
8 plus, because people live and die everywhere.
Yeah.
So there's about 8 billion people in the world.
Okay.
How many people do you think there are in the United States? Ish. So I say ish.
Yeah, ish. That's a good question. That's tricky because I want to 200 million.
So there's about 335 million people in the US.
Okay.
Ish,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
How many people in the world do you think are on some form? So when I say monthly user,
Yeah.
I mean they log on to social media at least once a month. Worldwide.
My guess would be if there's 8 billion people, and there's a lot of people on the internet, but there's a lot of people we don't realize are in like not developed countries and stuff. Like we don't realize how much of the world is not struggles to have water. So I'd say maybe 2 billion.
So there's about 4.95 billion social media users in the world.
That
right?
is insane.
So about half of the world's population uses some form of social media, right?
That's unreal.
So there's about 335 million-ish people in the United States.
I feel like there's more people struggling to have a place to sleep and water and stuff. Like, where do people get this internet from? But okay,
Right?
that much of the world in this short amount of time, because it's relatively, the internet has been accessible to the average person since the 90s.
Mhm.
That ain't that long ago.
Mm-mm.
I was around in the 90s, people, and it wasn't that long ago. And that fast, that many people, and there needed to be infrastructure. There's so many things that go into the internet. You can't just zip all this stuff around the world with nothing. Like governments and countries and people put a lot of time, effort, and energy into building out the infrastructure to carry this thing we call the internet, and to provide what we all believe is a resource. I believe was a resource for us to have access to information in a more free way and an opportunity to engage each other in a more open manner, I suppose. But you're telling me half the world's population is currently accessing the internet on a monthly basis.
Well, accessing social media. We're not even talking about just accessing
time
the
out.
internet.
We're talking about social media is even more new.
We're talking about just social media.
Social media is like 2000s. Like Facebook's like 2005 or 6.
No,
YouTube
it was before that.
Was it? What, 03 or 4? I mean, Facebook?
2000. So Facebook initially began, if I'm not mistaken, in 2003. Now the internet will check you, so that's a ballpark.
Let's see, somewhere in there, circa.
Somebody go watch the
2003.
social media, the network movie.
Oh, I love that. Fascinating.
But yeah, because I've been on I joined social media because remember you used to have to have a .edu email address.
You and my wife was in that generation.
Yes, because I joined Facebook in 2005.
Okay,
so
I was a little after that generation.
Yeah,
so I don't think I had an EDU. At the time.
So with the United States,
Or a little
about
before.
70% of the U.S. population has some form of social media.
Wow.
So if we want to break it down per platform, Facebook has about 3 billion users, and see the kids
worldwide.
Yes.
Fascinating.
3 billion. And you always have to keep, and the reason why I lead with population is because you always have to measure this against how many people there are in the world.
Okay, right. Of course.
You know what I mean?
Right.
We're talking world population and we're thinking like there's 8 billion-ish people in the world, but there's 3 billion people on Facebook.
Facebook alone.
So in the US, there's about 340 million plus Facebook users, right? YouTube, all of our kids
love
YouTube. My kid is sitting over there on YouTube right now.
Yes, and spinning a little bit
right now.
But yes, YouTube right now.
Yes,
she is.
About 122 million people log on to YouTube every day.
Wow.
Every day. There's about 239 million US YouTube users per month, right? Instagram has about 2.4 billion users on their platform. They get about 122 million users a day. Instagram.
If all of those people could just give me $1,
let me correct that.
$1,
just $1.
Everybody, can everybody see me
Cheers,
$1?
Kids.
You know, right? Just one.
Yeah,
just $1.
and I need to correct that. Instagram has about 500 million users per day. Snapchat. Don't let your kids have Snapchat.
Straight up.
No Snap for the kids. Amen.
Snap is a mess.
For those of you who used to be in the military, wink, wink, stomp, stomp. No Snap for the kids.
What? Why?
Because
I heard. Okay, let me tell you what I knew, and Early on when Snapchat first came out, I heard Snapchat was this place where you could send messages, they disappear. So you could
That's
send
why.
secret stuff, you could send things that were inappropriate or whatever.
Yes.
Then I thought that Snapchat, because of the negative publicity, fixed that and was like, nah, that's not, but that wasn't the intention. And therefore we're going to tighten up and not have that. Now I've never really been a Snapchat user. My kids, now that they're grown, have Snapchats because I hear them talk about it to each other. And they say things about Snap. My teenage daughter does not have Snapchat, although she does have some social media access. But I don't know particularly. I suppose if she had came to me and begged me for it, I wouldn't have known to flat out say no because I wouldn't have necessarily known what was different. So somebody else out there is like, my kid has it. I don't know why they shouldn't.
Snap is just a dark place.
Okay.
Snap is where all the kids send all the nudes.
Hmm.
Because they disappear.
Yeah.
You know,
Don't do it.
just no. Well, I can't say just no.
You can.
Well, no, because people deserve an explanation.
Okay. Okay.
Snap is generally where kids send a lot of inappropriate content.
Mm.
The issue is, and I use girls as an example because
Mhm.
usually what happens is boys, and I understand there are same sex relationships amongst teens, but I use boys
Sure.
and girls as the example.
Yes.
The girls think they're in love.
Mm.
And
Mm.
I usually lead with, "Hey girl, you're not in love. He don't love
Hey,
you."
girl. Mm.
The
You in
boys will be
something.
like, "Hey, send me a picture." They break up in a couple weeks.
But it disappeared.
But here's the thing: when you send a screenshot, when you screenshot something on Snap, it alerts the other person, right?
Good safety measure.
But
So I thought.
it only tells them. It doesn't
It
prevent
doesn't
them.
stop it. You can't
But
delete it.
what happens when I take a picture from another device?
Oh.
I still have it, and you don't know about it. So
Let me see. I got some devices here.
so I
I
just take
have
a
an
picture.
iPad. I have a phone. I could take a picture,
Yeah, now I just have it on another device.
and you don't even get notified.
No.
You have no idea that.
So what happens is when you break up in a couple weeks because you're not
Ooh.
really in love,
Ooh.
now he sends it to all of his friends. And now and that can happen from text messages. So that's
True.
why I try to like educate the girls like, listen, this is aside from Snapchat. This is
Yes.
just a healthy dating.
Okay.
And this is why I teach in my girls program. I have my
Yes.
coworker Kim Stanley come, and she teaches a session on healthy dating and relationships.
And what is that program, real quick? Talk to us about that briefly.
I started a program called Shine Bright that I teach at the Eric Snow Y.
Love that.
And it's spending habits, it's healthy dating and relationships, it's self-esteem. It's just I did a pilot last year, and I need to talk to them about doing it again in the fall.
Yes.
But that healthy dating and relationships was just one of the things that we talked about, and just what is love? What does love look like?
Right.
What does love not?
What's love got to do with it? For that matter.
What
What
does
are we
love
doing?
not look like?
Yes.
And that was one of the things, like if you're getting requests for nudes, or if you're getting unsolicited pictures or things like that, and so this is one of the things that I talk about with parents.
Yes.
But Snap is a breeding ground for where these exchanges take place. And I hate to pick on boys, but boys are generally the ones who make these requests. Boys.
Yes.
And that's what another things I try to educate parents on. Tell your sons don't send dick pics because they're doing
Don't do that.
And they're doing it as young as the elementary level.
No dick pics from the boys either.
Yes.
Because the boys think boys are less. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It does always seem like this is a place where girls are getting exploited, and it's the issue.
But and we're going to talk about sextortion here in a second. But boys are too.
Yeah.
Boys need to be reminded that boys are absolutely and can be victims.
Yeah.
They are pushed to be men.
Yes.
Way too soon. And when they do become victims, they think that they're going to get in trouble or they have to hide it. So we have to encourage our boys that if something happens to them, it's okay for them to tell somebody too, because they are not men at 12 years old. It's okay for them to be a victim. It's okay for them to be vulnerable. If something does something to them, it's okay for them to tell the adults in their lives, so that due process can happen. So they can get justice too.
That's very important. I love that you said that. As we think about these numbers, everybody, this is big stuff. These are important things. And Christian, if someone wanted more information, could they get a hold of you? Could they reach out to you? We're not done with this, but just in case somebody's leaning in and they're like, I need more information, or is it going to be, they should look out for information about a camp or something that's going to be available? What would you recommend? She's like, I wasn't ready. Nobody told me.
I
I
wasn't
didn't
ready for
say
that.
everybody could call me.
I wasn't ready for that, but let me think about that for a second.
Well,
we'll give you some information, but let me get through these numbers real quick.
Okay, give us the
and
numbers.
then TikTok.
Yes.
TikTok's the big one. TikTok has 1 billion followers on their platform, and they're the fastest growing social media platform ever. They have a Chinese version called Douyin, and then they have the American version as well. Like, and I always remind the kids, like, they get on there, they do all the viral stuff. We watch cleaning videos and spend all of our money on TikTok Shop. They haven't gotten me yet.
They haven't got you yet,
but
it's
I know
happening.
people are spending lots of money on TikTok Shop.
Yes.
So then parents have to. How much time do you think our kids are spending on their phones?
In a what? Day, week, month?
A day. Outside of education, like tablets.
I have to be honest. I see my children who are on things a lot. So if you're in school for 6 hours a day, there's 24 hours in a day. You're asleep for 8 hours a day. You got to eat a little bit in there. I'm going to say 4 hours.
So teens, 13 to 18, are spending about 9 hours a day.
Hold on.
9. Average.
That's not even possible.
Oh, but
if you sleep, okay, let's do the math again. If you sleep for 8, they probably don't sleep for 8. But let's say a healthy person sleeps for 8 hours. Okay, let's give them less. Let's give them 6 hours. And you're in school for 6. That's 12 and 12. That leaves you 12. And you said how many hours?
9.
9 of their waking hours. If they ain't in the shower.
9. This is.
And they ain't at practice.
I mean, this is breaks in between things.
Sure.
So teens are spending an average of 9 hours a day on their phones.
Doing what? What are they doing?
Oh, checking messages, getting on TikTok, getting on
Scrolling,
the app,
making
scrolling,
content,
Our tweens are spending about 6 hours.
Tweens is what?
Tweens is like 8 to 12.
Okay. And they're spending how many hours?
6.
8 to 12-year-olds are spending 6 hours a day
on their phones.
On their phones.
Yeah. Yep. So all of it's basically like any type of downtime, they're on their phone.
And I can't say that I don't understand it or see it
because we do it
as a parent. And you're absolutely
because
right.
we do it. So how much, like the average person, how many times do you think we just do this?
Pick up our phone.
Just look. Doesn't mean we're
ridiculous. I'm looking at my phone right now. It's doing something. I just got a message. I can't even guess. It is a lot. I would say. I mean, so say if there's 24 hours, 50, 100 times a day. I don't know.
100 times a day.
Is it really?
It is. The average person just looks.
100 is like a crazy number that I was just throwing out there to be funny, like 100 times, because that's stuff people say.
No, it is. It's 100 times. That's how we.
Let me look at my phone now, because stuff's happening 100 times a day.
Yeah, notifications. Like for me, I don't have Messenger notifications turned on. I don't have Instagram messages turned on because none of that is like
pressing.
None of that is important.
I agree. Like, I don't have any of those on.
Yeah, so like I'll see it when I open it.
You know what I did some years ago, and I think I turned on my Facebook notifications are on, but not like they don't notify me, but I'll see a number if I look at the app on my phone.
Right.
But it doesn't tell me something's happening. Nothing. None of my other ones have anything on, and I also put social media in the like 3rd or 4th page of my phone. So when I open my phone, the first thing I see is not social media; it's something else. It's other stuff, and then I have to swipe a little bit and work a little bit to get to it, which means I got on there with the intention, as opposed to it stole my intention. And one of the greatest things I've learned is that social media, though it's not necessarily, I don't think all things were built to be evil, but everything can have an evil component or something that's not good for us. Is the idea of it, though, much like the idea of the radio and the television and everything, was to get our attention. It wanted to give us something to pay attention to, and then once you're paying attention, then they can run ads against the attention and you buy stuff. So it's smart. That's what everybody does. I have a media company.
Yep.
We're doing a lot in the community. We're going a lot of places. We're doing shows like this. I hope people are paying attention. And I'm grateful for my sponsors and my advertisers who are with us now and those to come who realize this is a great vehicle to put advertisement against. So I understand the premise, and I actually have a business that does that. And I use social media heavily with those things. But I think social media steals our attention, then it steals our intentions. And then we are lost in a world that we never planned to be in. We're scrolling and losing time. We're not as productive. We're not parenting like we used to. We're not in regular relationships like we used to be. We don't interact with people in the room like we used to. Couples don't interact like they used to. And I think it is not good for society. What do you think?
And that kind of runs me into my next point of why does all of this matter?
Yes.
And it's because of the impact it's having on our kids. Some of our kids are obsessed, and you know why they are obsessed? Because we are. Because we are. Like,
they're watching us.
Our kids are doing what we're doing. And I tell parents all the time, you need to get off that phone. You need to get off that phone. But you can't tell your kid to get off the phone from your phone.
You're staring at it, telling them stop doing the thing that I'm doing.
Phone, get off the tablet.
And behavior is not taught, it's caught, it's seen. We are copycats, and we do what we see, especially a child who's watching you. They're watching you thinking, I want to cook one day, I want to drive one day, and I'm going to stare at my phone because that's what my parents do, and I do like it. And it does give us, we also get a hit of dopamine. Is that right? We get a hit of a chemical that makes us feel good in interacting with people in this way. Is that right?
I can't tell you the science behind that, but it's just like the chemical reaction we get when we hug people. It's like we get something from interacting, but it's like when we're just sitting behind the screen, it's like, you need to go outside. Well, go outside with them. Go play with your kids. Go do an activity with your kids, but you can't want your kids to get off the phone if you're not going to get off too. You can't tell, like, you can't.
Are you talking to me?
I might be.
I don't know how she's looking. I don't know how she's looking at me. She might be. If the shoe fits, then you know what?
The other thing is bullying. Kids are being bullied online. Like, you know, parents are having people show the police or, you know, showing up at their houses, and they're like, are you aware of what your kid is saying to other kids online? Or they're being called to school, you know, being shown messages. These are the messages your child, and people are like, well, not my kid,
right?
And my kid would never. Baby, your kid is never and like never before.
And your kid is never land.
Your kid is the mayor of never land.
Right.
Like you,
never.
Like you're. But people just I was just texting a friend this morning and about his daughter is 10, and he was saying, like, you know, my daughter doesn't have social media, and I said, nor should she. She's not missing anything, and the kids think that they're missing out, and
parents sometimes think they're missing out. Like, my kid's not going to be cool. They're not going to know what's going on. They're not going to keep up with the conversations in school. They're getting picked on because they're not on there,
and they'll be fine.
They will be fine. Let them ride
Kids are becoming relentless keyboard warriors. They are saying. They get very cliquish, and they can be, you know, kids are always saying how brutal kids are in person. My child has humbled me. Mommy, is that pizza in your belly? No, baby, this is, and I can't claim postpartum no more, child, because she's 3. These are decisions. These are decisions.
These are decisions of making daily. Don't touch my stomach, all right?
You know, but kids are being like that to other kids online,
right?
You know, and it's just like, we have to, we can teach our kids to be respectful, but the other thing is kids are parroting what they hear their parents say. They're repeating what they hear.
All that trash they heard their parents
say. So sometimes during politics, they're hearing what their parents say about other ethnic groups. They're hearing what they say about the size of other people. They're taking their parents' biases and they're applying them to other kids. And then they're spewing that same stuff on the internet. And I won't get into the legal parts of this, but there are laws that apply to telecommunications harassment. If your child is sending messages to kids online, that is telecommunications harassment, and they can be charged.
Interesting.
There are no laws in Ohio that specifically apply to bullying. It's harassment. So
we're not lightening it up. It's harassment, which is a crime.
That's what so it's like, you have to be very cognizant of your child's behavior on the internet. They're not going to get a special pass just because they're a kid and just because it's the internet.
Wow.
And everybody thinks little Jimmy is special until it's their kid.
Wow.
So they need to be very mindful of their child's behavior. And need to talk to their kid about
Yeah.
what they do and don't know about the internet. And the other thing is about what their kids are saying online. So a
Mhm.
lot of kids,
Parents, listen closely. This is for you.
a lot of kids, their kids play 2K, they play
Yeah.
Call of Duty, they
Play
play
Fortnite. They're on the game,
they play Grand Theft Auto, which blows
which
my
is
mind because
wild.
why is your
Practicing.
kid selling coke on the internet?
Is there selling coke on that game now?
Yeah, you can like run coke and stuff, but it's weird. But hey,
I
not
remember when the first one came out and it was wild. I remember me and my sister played and we were like, "This is crazy. We're stealing cars and
yes,
driving from the police." And it was, I felt, although I was young, it was a race car game. You're just running from the cops, although it was wrong. That was what we
yeah,
were take was. It was Grand Theft Auto 1 was a little. It probably wasn't great, but in our mind it was. Now I've heard things or like I don't know if the players is going in strip clubs. I don't know what the
yes,
level of
yes,
madness
it's
is
wild.
there. I'm just so far removed from
Yeah,
that
it's
world
wild.
that I can imagine.
There's
So
no reason kids should be playing that
ever.
ever. But there are what happens is kids get into like there's so like when you're playing 2K, you're like waiting to get on the
Oh yeah.
court and you're
Yep.
like waiting to get on. Some of the stuff that kids say, like
Mm.
trying to be cool, there are special task force of police who just sit online and listen.
Wow.
So there have been kids who um the police have shown up at their house because they've threatened to shoot up a school or they've threatened to harm other people, and like their parents are like, oh well, it was
They up
just
there
a
in the room. They
joke.
were fine. They were
Yeah,
just
oh well,
having
it
dinner.
was just a joke. And they're like,
Ain't
no,
no jokes like this.
like Sandy Hook was not a joke. Like
Right.
the shooting up a school, first of all, it's just not funny.
Right.
Like
Absolutely
kids
not.
have they've lost their lives.
Absolutely.
But it's never funny, it's never a joke. But there are special task force
Mm.
that are, their job is to just sit on the internet and listen for threats.
Wow.
So kids have to be very mindful. First of all, just teach them that saying things like that is never a joke in the first place.
Absolutely not.
Secondary to that, there are people, it
Mm.
is their job to
To
sit
find
on the
that.
internet and listen for that type of
Interesting.
talk. So just just letting them know that those are the types of things that are out there. And then just the internet just sets unrealistic life expectations. These
Mm.
families that these kids watch on the internet, like there's a couple families that, oh, we're going to Disney and we're going to spend this $10,000 trip to Disney, or like
Every year.
Insta famous. Like people
Yeah.
don't see that some of these families have been posting for 2 years
Yes.
before they ever
Opening
caught.
toys or doing whatever they're
Yes,
doing. Or
but like
posting.
Ryan, for instance,
Uh-huh.
Ryan was posting for years before people caught on.
Interesting.
Well, not maybe not years,
yes.
but for a long time.
Yeah.
Before he got the toy deal in Walmart,
Yes.
before he got all of the endorsement deals. Like
Right.
people don't understand that content. Well, you get it, but content
4 years
creation,
in. Still learning, growing.
is a lot of work.
Yes.
You don't know what these families are going through outside of what's happening on the camera.
Right, which all looks good.
You don't know what the parents are going through. You don't know what family
Yes.
struggles they have. You don't know who's in credit card debt. You don't
Yeah.
to fund these
this thing,
trips.
yeah.
Like you don't know what happens before the brand deals. And these
Right.
kids think that these are big happy families, but we don't
Mm.
know them.
Yes.
So it sets them, or these relationships, these you know, some of the older teens, like shade room teens, or like these
There's a
couples.
shade room teens?
Yeah. So for some of like the
Never even
younger
knew that.
celebrities, but they
Mm.
see these couples and then they hear about, oh, they fought or they broke up, or like Krishan and Blueface, like that
Yeah.
type of couple. Like it sets up them up for unrealistic
Thick.
relationship
Goals
expectation.
and good and bad.
Yes.
Some of it is this limelight, this money, this spending, this
Yes.
traveling. This is what a relationship is, and I need
Yes.
that. And some of it is, well, yeah, one or the other was abusive toward each other, or they physically fought, or whatever may have happened. They scream at each other and tear each other apart online, but then they're back together. So that's
Yes.
normal in my life too.
Yes. Absolutely
Yes.
not.
Absolutely not.
We
Should not be. Is not normal.
We don't
do
have
it.
that to do.
Yes.
And then the other thing is the big downside to the internet is this is the first generation of kids to have always had porn in the palm of their hand.
That is absolutely crazy.
So what I
to
recommend
think
to
about.
parents is have your kid put blocks on your phone. So there's,
Right.
and we're going to talk about that in a second, but there's blocks where you can like block XXX content on your kid's phone. Like some kids are like, oh, I need my phone as my alarm clock. And there are kids who will find their way around it. So put blocks on your kids' phone so
Yeah.
they can't watch porn on their phone. Because what's happening is kids are watching porn as young as 6, 7,
That's
8 years old.
crazy.
Because kids are like, oh, my kid wouldn't watch porn.
So they're not blocking. They're not thinking about. They're not checking for it. and the exposure, who knows? Like you said, this is the first generation. We don't even know yet what the implications are of that.
Well, we do know.
What is it?
The issues are, number one, they're watching porn so young that they're interested in trying things
Of course,
younger.
that makes sense.
Two, they're not realizing that these people are actors. They have the
Wow.
lighting, they have the equipment, they have editing, and they're actors. So they think that this is how sex is supposed to be. So
Wow.
they have unrealistic expectations of their
Of
partners.
intimacy and partners and
Yes.
wow.
So they're going into relationships thinking that their partners are supposed to be porn stars, and we know as adults that that's not how sex is supposed to work, because
It's not like
we're grown and we're
we're
adults,
grown and we're adults.
and this not that ain't how
time
life
for all that all
that
the
ain't
time.
how life be life.
That's what I mean.
Like let's just be let's just be
Right,
realistic.
right,
Like let's
right.
just be
It's
realistic
happening
here.
like that,
Like
right.
it's not happening.
Right.
So but they're trying thing.
Hmm.
They're trying.
We have a young one in the studio. We love her. She can make noise. It's fun.
They're trying things 14, 15, 16 years old. They're trying things that they've seen on porn.
Yeah.
So it's just setting them up for unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
They are
They're
experimenting.
trying to do then not only expectation of the other person, an expectation of themselves.
Yes.
They can perform in these ways and do these
Yes.
things. And I know, especially my thought is, I tend to think, and I may not be 100% true, that females tend to get the harder side of things in life.
Women
Tend to get the harder side of things in life. And that they're the ones who are, and I'm sure there's men as well, but that they're the ones in here trying to go and perform in this way or do these things or show up in this way or be overly sexy, even in just the way they dress and everything they do and how they talk and how they look and how then they got to show up now in the bedroom or wherever they at doing it. Like I put on to show that I could be this person because I could wear the costume of it.
Mhm.
And now when it's time to do what we gonna do, I got to be great at all this stuff as much as you want, however you want it, whether I like it or not, whether it's comfortable or not, whether it hurt or not, whether there's so much to that. And it's just the model that's in their head that this is what it should be.
Well, and then I'll even speak up for the men and boys. Like there's this, I'm supposed to go for hours. I'm
Yeah.
supposed to be size requirements. I'm supposed to be, and all of those things just are not realistic.
Right.
So you got these 14-year-olds who science tells us that a lot of men don't stop growing until they're 21 years old.
Right.
So, but now I'm watching porn and I'm supposed to be,
and they're thinking,
it's not
that's
realistic.
deep.
It's just not realistic. So it's just unnecessary pressure that children are putting on themselves by watching content that is not built for
with
them.
no adult to correct them because they can't go to their parents and be like, I was watching this. Is this normal?
But they should be able to go to their parents.
Deep.
But we're not having those conversations. And this is a whole nother conversation for another day.
Okay.
But we're not opening up the doors to be able to have those conversations with our kids.
Yeah.
We should be having conversations with our kids about sex. They shouldn't have to learn about it from the internet. But because we didn't have those conversations with our parents, and our parents definitely didn't have that conversation with their parents.
Right.
So we have to be the generation that say, let our kids know, this is, with our daughters, this is what pH is. This is what, let's go to the doctor and talk about these things, so they don't have to find out from their friends. They don't have to they shouldn't have to learn from each other. They shouldn't have to learn
It's the
from
blind
Google,
leading the blind.
because everything on Google is not facts.
Whew.
So everything from Google is not the information. In WebMD, you're either gonna make it or you're gonna die from cancer. So, so
there's two options on WebMD.
There's only two.
There's only two
options.
There's two things
You're gonna make it or you're gonna die.
You're fine, or you're probably dying within 6 months.
You don't have so it's just those are the two things. So it's like because of that. So I've even told parents, like, either take your kid's phone at night, or plug it up in the kitchen at night, and go to Walmart and buy them a $10 alarm clock.
Yeah, that's what we do.
It buzzed the same.
Listen, it buzzed the same. My daughter got a nice alarm clock. It shines the clock time on her ceiling in the dark with a little glowing light, and her phone goes in the room, the spare bedroom. And all my kids have had that rule that the phones had to go in another room until they're grown and they're out the house, and I'm sure they sleep with their phone in front of them. But it's even in another rule we recently made, which is we had to enforce it this morning, is Sunday mornings her room has to be clean in order for her to get access to her phone that's in the other room. And my point to her is, I'm not keeping your phone from you. You're keeping your phone from you.
Mhm.
You did not meet the measure. If I don't pay this phone bill, the phones get cut off.
I know some people do not like that. However,
Yeah. We got to do it.
you have to be in your kids' business.
Yes.
You don't leave yourself.
What if they're 16? Be in their business.
I said what I said.
What if they're 17? Be in their business. As much.
I mean, there is a level of autonomy to be had.
Yeah.
Don't put yourself in a situation to just be blindsided. And this is where establishing a good relationship with your kids comes in.
Right.
And I say this because, so for those who don't know what sextortion is,
Yeah.
sextortion is where, and I'll give you an example. So James Woods was a senior at Twinsburg, Streetsboro, right? Tamia Woods is a wonderful lady. I met her a couple months ago. So James, his parents, great parents. She works at the Mayo Clinic. Dad has a great job. Like these are not like we neglect our kids' parents.
Okay.
And I say this because people think things like this only happen to the kids nobody cares about.
Right.
He ran track. He wanted to go to HBCU. Great student. All of this. Parents monitored. They were in his business.
Interesting.
Knew his friends. Private Instagram.
Yeah.
Meets this girl on Instagram. She adds him. You know, he's a teenage boy.
Yeah.
Let's just be. No matter how great we raise our kids,
100%.
kids make mistakes, right?
Absolutely.
Meets this girl on Instagram. She adds him. They start chatting. She's like, "Hey, do you want to video FaceTime?" He's like, "Sure." He does some things on camera that he thinks are private, right? Soon as they get off, he realizes that she screenshotted what they were doing. She says, she sends him the screenshots and says, "If you don't send me thousands of dollars, I'm going to release these and send them to all your followers and your family." He's a teenager.
Wow.
So she's like, "I don't have the money for this."
Right.
She's like, "Don't care. Send me the money." He instantly starts being bombarded with messages. Instantly. I'm talking about nonstop. I mean, bombarded. Nonstop. Now, this is a kid.
Yes.
He's afraid to go. They're like, "You're going to go to jail. No one's going to believe you. You're never going to college. We're going to expose you. This is porn. This is illegal." Nonstop, right? So he goes to a college. Mom takes him to a college fair the next day. He goes and gets a haircut. All these things. Nobody knows what's going on. They sent him over 400 messages.
The same extortion group or person? Okay.
Yes. They text messages, Instagram,
harassing him, saying
phone
pay
calls,
us
or else.
Right.
So he sends them like $100. This is the month before Christmas, November. Month before Christmas, he sends them $100. He's like, "This is all that I have, but I know," and it's heartbreaking because he's like, "I know I'll get money for Christmas if you just give me a second." They're like, "We don't care." He's like, "I don't have any more money." They're like, "Well, if you don't send us the money, you might as well kill yourself." And that's what he did. So they extorted him to the point where he killed himself. And that is why, and this happened right in Streetsboro. You know where
in Ohio, right?
Aurora Farms is. We all go to the outlet.
Yes.
That close.
Wow.
This has happened in Michigan. It's happened in Streetsboro. It happens in different parts of the country. I did not know that. It is. So it's called the Do It for James Foundation. Tamia and her husband, Tim, they go and they give this same talk. And I like to not tell their story too much because it's much better heard from them. But it's the Do It for James Foundation. But this is happening so they were able to trace the people back to where they did it, but their country won't extradite them. Now, when it happened in Michigan, they were able to get 2 of the people, so they were able to be held accountable. And people are like, "Well, why wouldn't he say anything?" Well, number one, because he was a boy and he didn't think he was a victim.
Right.
And that's why I said what I said earlier.
Yes.
I'm a man.
Yep.
I was wrong. Yeah. I shouldn't have did it. It didn't matter.
Right.
He's a child.
Yes.
He didn't realize it didn't matter that he was 17.
Right.
He didn't know what he did was it didn't matter if he was wrong or not.
Yeah.
He's a kid. He made a
Right.
mistake. He shouldn't have did it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean he wasn't a victim. He
Yes.
was being extorted.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand. And people are less likely to see Black boys as victims. They're more likely to look at Black boys as men as opposed to their counterparts.
Wow.
So we have to remind our boys that
Even more so.
they are absolutely eligible to be victims,
Right.
just as any other child.
Wow.
So, and that's what happened, and they lost their son. He wasn't. And for people who understand like the cycle of suicide, like they make them feel worthless, they make them feel isolated, and that's what they did. And they kept him up all night with the messages.
Wow.
And he was scared to say something. He thought that his parents would be he thought he wouldn't be able to run track anymore. He didn't think he would. They basically made him feel like he had no hope. He wasn't going to be able to run track. His family wasn't going to love him. His parents were going to be mad at him.
Yeah.
They convinced him what he did was
criminal
porn. He was going to go to jail, so he
Yep.
couldn't go to the police with what he done. And the police would have been like, like it wouldn't have been a big deal.
Well, so real quick, and we're gonna land this plane because I want you guys to really be able to think about this. If someone, so how do we approach it if our kids have done something and they're now concerned it's a crime, what they did, so they're afraid to call out the extortion or sextortion because they're like, well, my child could get in trouble for child pornography because they are a child who's making pornography. What's reality
If
there?
someone screenshots what your child has done and they're being extorted to that level, you can go to the police.
Okay.
Go to the police.
Yeah.
And this person is trying to extort my child.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, those people aren't even in the country.
What if they are? What if it's somebody at school? What if it's the former girlfriend or former boyfriend?
It's revenge porn is a crime. Go to the police.
Okay.
Revenge porn is absolutely.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
it's a crime. Go to the police. Yep. It's illegal to send someone's. It's illegal. Well, because sending the same laws that apply to adults.
Yeah.
Like sending pictures of a kid. So the likelihood of it happening is very slim. But if your child sends a picture of themselves naked to another child, they could be charged with pandering obscenities, which is the same
thing
that they charge for adults.
Okay.
The likelihood is very, very slim.
Okay.
And that's why I try not to lead with that, because I don't want to scare kids with that.
Because they won't.
However, but it exists.
Yes. But more importantly, you need to get your child protected. You need to make sure that whether it's the school is involved, the coaches are involved, the police are involved, that people know there's an ongoing issue, because the worst thing is not that your child made an issue, made a mistake.
Yes.
It's that the ongoing bullying pressure of that could lead them to something as horrible as potentially suicide.
Yes.
And even if they did get in a little trouble for sending it in the first place, that's way better than them taking their life because they've been brutalized and extorted because of a decision they made in one moment.
Yep. So I think just having your kid have a private account, going through and approving their followers, and who, watching and listening to what, like when my kid is watching YouTube, I don't like that. Next, listen to what your kids are listening to at the same time. Letting your child know that you're not okay with certain behaviors. Like, check things when they happen. We don't do this. It's not okay.
Send pictures of ourselves. We don't.
Yes. Have conversations with your kids, and just most importantly, installing protections on your phone. So there's apps: Google 360, Life 360, Google Family Link, Bark Family Keeper. You can have everybody's devices under one app, and you can see how much time your kids are spending on which apps, putting monitors on which apps, putting a parental block on the app store, saying like making them have certain permissions.
My daughter has to come to me first before any game or anything, because I think some things are like shady. I'd be like, that's a backdoor gateway into some stuff, because there's some adults on that game trying to lure kids too.
Yes. So and then just overall, just be okay with being that parent. Like your kid is not going to understand today. And there's a video out there of a college professor. He's asking his students, how old were you when you got social media? and how old do you think you should have been? And
Mhm.
every single student is like, I got on at this age, but I probably
We
shouldn't have
got
got
on
on
until
until this
then.
age.
Wow.
So yeah, so just be okay with being that
Yeah,
parent. Your child is not going to thank you today,
that's okay.
but they will understand later.
I love it. Christian, absolutely phenomenal. Thank you so much for your thoughts, for your insight. This is such a deep topic. It really is moving. Even just hearing about it myself as a parent makes you think back, makes you question. Parents, don't beat yourselves up if you made some mistakes or you aren't doing this right. Change today. Today's the day to change, not tomorrow, not Monday, not Tuesday. Your kid may have a fit, your kid may be mad, your kid, some of them are addicted to some of this stuff. Even not just pornography, they're addicted just to their phone itself. They're addicted to this interaction that they're having with people, whatever it may be. But as Christian said, we have to be those parents because we don't want to be those parents at the funeral of our child who has committed suicide. We don't want to be the parents who are visiting our children because they're in prison. We don't want to be the parents whose child has some maladaptive behaviors that as adults they can't have healthy relationships and they're struggling because of what they were exposed to. So let's be those parents now, as it is our job to protect them physically. Let's protect their minds, their hearts, and all of them by protecting their online presence. And it is easier to just relinquish them to the device because then you get to get on your device. It's the cheapest babysitter ever, and we have to be careful with it. And it's not that they can't do any of the internet. It's that we have to be all over it. We have to be in their business. Christian, the insight that you gave today was priceless. We can't pay you for it, but thank you for it. And it fits perfectly in line with what we do here at Lucas Live Media. Our goal is to educate, motivate, and liberate. We want to educate people and teach them something they didn't know before. We want to motivate them to do something with the information they learn. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're not only educated now, you're motivated to do something. And we want to liberate them, which is we want to set them free to be their best selves and show up as their best selves. So as parents, we got to show up as our best selves. And we got to do the things that maybe we didn't feel free to do before. But you said feel free to get in your kids' business and make it your job to do so. So thank you so much for being our guest here today. I look forward to I've had you on before. I look forward to having you on again. I think you bring great insight to families everywhere and what you're doing for our city. Again, shout out to current prosecutor Kyle Stonick from your former role as Director of Public Relations and Community Initiatives. And shout out to our current mayor and your role for the city as our new communications director. We're so excited for you.
Well, thank you for having me, and I look forward to coming back. See y'all.
Thank you guys, everybody. We'll see you guys next time on another episode of Lucas Live. Everybody have a great day.